Yeah, you were led a little bit astray on that one, I think. I don't know where your thought process was coming, but that didn't seem to work out.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV, and we do apologise that there wasn't a video on Thursday, but me and Andrew are going to bring you episode 7 of the Cheltenham Ante Post series, looking back on the big talking points this week, as well as putting up a tip from both of us at the end. Looking forward to that. Cheltenham's not far away, 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, I know, it's really ramping up at this stage, and you've finally come to the party after your absence of episode 6. We've built it up for a good 25 minutes only for you to tell everyone that you didn't have a bet, and I've made sure this time round you've done the right thing for the people and you have one ready to go.
I didn't want to put one up for the sake of it. We don't want to chuck our viewers under the bus. This time I really like the horse.
I have done that a few times.
This time I have waited for a horse that I fancy. I do quite like her. Or maybe a bit of a giveaway there. But I'm looking forward to spilling all of that at the end. If you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much to all those that have subscribed since our last video. I think we've flown up 150, 200 new subscribers.
Yeah, it's been absolutely superb. And we set a like target of 750 likes, which was actually blown out of the water. 930.
Yeah, not too bad, eh?
It's not too bad. So I think we have to go that again. We have to maybe try go 800 plus.
Yeah, we should try 800 likes on this video, and that would be much appreciated. It massively helps out the channel, and we do appreciate all the comments as well down below. Do let us know your thoughts on and tips and fancies for the Cheltenham Festival. Not long now. Cannot wait to get stuck into things, and videos are going to be normal from now on. I know we were meant to upload on Thursday, but they'll be fine. We will upload on Thursday for a weekend preview, as well as a look ahead to what that might mean for Cheltenham. So I do hope you enjoy that. But let's get stuck in, and the starting point is probably Clonmel on Thursday. Hidden Valley Lake, the Ante Post favourite for the Albert Bartlett, was running. He was running up against Monty, Star and Search for Glory, and it was a cracker.
Yeah, it was a super race, and if you said at the start of the day that Corbett's Cross would have been taken out of the race, you would have thought maybe the gloss was taken away from us, but the three of them served up a really good race. The two de Bromhead horses, I think, are both really good horses, to be honest. I was very impressed by Monty Star, considering how inexperienced a horse he was. He dug down deep when he could have shirked it as well. Hidden Valley Lake, don't think there was any discredit in his performance, really giving £6 away. Only worry for the two of them going forward to the Albert Bartlett just in the real short term is how hard a race they've had there at Clonmel. I'm just not sure whether that will take its toll on them. I know horses have won that race or have ran in that race and have gone on to win the Bartlett, Manella Indo being top of that list. But at the same stage, you know, Manella Indo was, in the end, a Gold Cup winning horse. Are these going to be Gold Cup winning horses? Hard to know at this stage.
I know you were also quite a fan of the third, Search for Glory.
Yeah, no, seriously, nice horse, I think. We probably won't see him at Cheltenham, I suspect. I think he'll be kept to Ireland. He might run at Ferryhouse Punchestown, but we'll see the best of him potentially in a Brown Advisory Novices Chase next year.
Moving towards Cheltenham with Monty Star, Hidden Valley Lake, if they came out the race well and they did turn up at Cheltenham, how would you assess their challenges? I
would really think both of them have a very good chance. I think the Albert Bartlett is right up there for the taking. I can't have the favourite one bit in Embassy Gardens. I'll be looking to take him on all day. Could get that completely wrong. But other than that, I think the race is a bit of a, hullabaloo, really. Sander Clegane's in there. Absolute Notions is in there.
Why don't you like the favourite?
Well, I just think his attitude earlier in the season absolutely stunk.
Tail swisher.
Yeah, he was a tail swisher. Now, I got called out for that by a woman on Twitter who I think bred the horse or was involved in the breeding of the horse, so I'm maybe a little bit dubious about saying it too much more. But at the same stage, his attitude stunk earlier this season. He really didn't want to go through with it when under pressure. He won a Mickey Mouse race beating Kilbree Warrior, who's rated 108 for Ollie McKiernan. He's not even in Ollie McKiernan's top 10 horses. Like, that's a sad state of affairs. And I just think based off that one performance alone, you're taking an awful lot on trust at 5-1.
The one Ante-Post market I think we thought would take more of a shape before this weekend was the Ryanair, and it definitely happened. We had the Red Mills Chase over in Ireland. We'll touch on that first. Hoton Claw's disappointing. Janidil won.
Yeah, Janidil was very good considering he's off for so long. He jumped pretty well under Rachel Blackmore, given a canny ride as well, I must say. Hoton Kalor just wouldn't be for me. He loves to lose.
He does, and that's not what we want to do. We want to be finding the winner of the Ryanair.
Well, this is it, and I just think...
How did you assess Shishkin? Talk to me. It was one of those where at the start of the day, as much as maybe the head was saying there's so many question marks, you don't want to go near at that price, or for Cheltenham, the heart was saying you'd love to see Shishkin bounce back. And I thought very early on, I got the impression that he was enjoying himself, and that was probably what would fill me with confidence moving towards Cheltenham.
Yeah, definitely. He just seemed more in his comfort zone pretty much throughout his career. He's near on being getting away with it over 2 miles through sheer class and ability, even though he's kind of always been on his head. And this was the first time in a long time it looked like he could actually just canter through a race, not being under any pressure in the mid part of a race. He's beaten Fil Dor, who's ran a pretty solid race. I think he goes straight to Aintree now for the Cheltenham Chase. Wouldn't be without a sniff in that type of a race on a flat track. Fil Dor, though, I know everyone went into it, me included, saying he was the solid horse of the race. He's ran an absolutely deplorable race.
Is he a horse that now, on quick ground over 2.5, might not have the pace for it, but equally doesn't stay 3, like he's in no man's land?
He's a little bit. He has always been like that, though, where you'd think with his running style, he has to run at 3 miles. And he's ran over 3 miles 3 or 4 times and hasn't stayed. I just wonder with Fil Dor, he was one of these horses that was jumping hurdles, jumping fences in France, age 3. Like, I know he's only 8, so in the grand schemes of national racing, you think he's still quite young. I just wonder whether it's all beginning to catch up with him, because I just don't feel he's been the same horse this season. He was laboured at Thurles, jumped poorly at Ascot, and like the one thing you'd always say about Fil Dor was his jumping was super, and geez, he barely lifted a leg on Saturday.
Looking at Shishkin then towards Cheltenham, I'd make him 1 to 10 to run in the Ryanair. But do you think Connections should be thinking Gold Cup? Like, he wasn't stopping.
No, he wasn't stopping. I think people, like, it's one of these things, very trendy to say, I remember the 3-day festival days. The 3-day festival days were pretty much before me and you were born, unfortunately.
I think they were, yeah.
Like, it's not going to go back to that. As much as that may be the best thing for racing, it just seems to be a thing that's in everyone's mind. Oh, if we didn't have the Ryanair, he'd run in the Champion Chase of the Gold Cup. I may be one of the very few. I really like the Ryanair as a race. I think it's had a decent enough history for the last 10, 15 years. Plenty of really good winners. And I don't think there's any discredit in the race.
As much as there's no discredit, there's people calling for him maybe to step down in trip for the Champion Chase. It looks very open, with Energamine being beaten, with Edwardstone possibly having a setback, and all the different things with that. I think Edwardstone's absolutely fine now. He was working on the gallops for Racing TV when the cameras went up there, which was great to see. And I think all steam ahead to the Cheltenham Festival. Shishkin, I personally feel that he'd be better off going up to the Gold Cup than he would the Champion Chase. Yeah,
no, I'd agree with that. I think Nicky Henderson does as well. I was listening to him today at Newbury. He talked about if the horse was fitting well, that they'd take in the Ryanair, but before potentially taking in the Betway Bowl. I think they really want to potentially see down the line, could he be a King George horse next year? And if he's a King George horse next year, and if, now I know we're talking a lot of ifs, because at the same stage, he's one bad run away from being retired at the same stage.
And that would concern me, that the 3.5 week turnaround with the Ryanair. That wouldn't fill me with massive confidence. No, I know he won very well, but I still think he'd have had a tough enough race.
Yeah, I just think the Ryanair is right up there for the taking at the moment. Just in terms of, I don't know what to do with the race, because I don't really want to back against them. But I don't really want to back him at that type of prohibitive price as well, because you do have those risks and connotations attached. And I just feel, I'm always a believer that horses do remember bad experiences to a certain extent, and he went to Cheltenham last year and had a deplorable experience. And whether that just is in his mind, if you're taking near on odds on, wouldn't really be for me. At the same stage, am I going to pile into something else to try and beat him? Probably not.
No, because if the Shishkin that ran in the Ascot Chase turns up to Cheltenham, you suspect he will go and win the Ryanair. Yeah. Equally, you would maybe be a brave man to think that Shishkin will turn up. Do you think he is good enough to be a Gold Cup horse down the line? Is he going to win a King George this year? Is he going to beat Brave Man's Game? That would be heartbreaking, by the way.
I think he's got the ability, like the natural. He's got the natural ability to do it. If you were to ask me whether he actually will just kind of stay in one piece to be able to do it, I'd say it's very unlikely, to be honest. I think this horse has had a fairly hard time of things. It was great to see him back. We also saw with Sprinter say they got him back for a season. And then he kind of fell apart again, and they had to just say, well, that's that. I worry with Shishkin, you're constantly going to be watching him, knowing that you're one bad race away from not seeing him again.
Good racing at Ascot on Saturday, as well as Gorham Park, as well as Haydock. I was at Wincanton. I must say, I have to put this performance in there because I don't think it affects Cheltenham whatsoever, but I thought it was a very, very good performance from a horse I didn't expect him to do this, and that was I Like to Move It in the Kingwell. He beat Napper's Hill. I think Bryony Frost probably got the fractions wrong from the front on him. First Street was very, very flat. I think he might have a wind up and go again in the spring. I think his wind was playing up with him. But I Like to Move It. He won by half the track.
Yeah, he's absolutely superb.
He's going to be a really nice novice chaser next year.
You'd have to think so, yeah. And he goes well around Cheltenham, which is also a bonus. You can see him kind of doing, I suppose, what the likes of a Third Time Lucky did a few years ago, where he's sweeping up all those novice chases at Cheltenham before Christmas, and then he'll have his kind of mettle tested. But there was an awful lot to like about this. If you told me before the weekend that he was going to win the Kingwell hurdle, I'd have said A, unlikely, and B, it would have to be a real slog, and it would be a little bit like the Greatwood hurdle with Sam Twiston-Davies, all action. Like, I've never seen Sam Twiston-Davies so still at 2 hours. He almost always shakes the reins at horses, and yet this horse, he's literally there on the Houdini.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed, and I was there working for race day, and we did a preview of the race before, and I went through the runners, and I said the one I couldn't back in the whole field was I Like to Move It. It just doesn't have the gears.
Yeah, unfortunately, I always get those sort of things wrong. I wouldn't have backed him myself. I'd have backed First Street if I was at Wincanton.
That isn't the most embarrassing thing, though, in this video. I remember about 5 or 6 videos I put up. Well, I didn't put up, but I said that I'd backed Fil Dor for the National Hunt Chase, a 3 mile 6 furlong novice chase at the Cheltenham Festival. He's gone and beat Sharjah over 2 miles of the hurdles.
Yeah, you were led a little bit astray on that one, I think. I don't know where your thought process was coming, but that didn't seem to work out. He was good, he was tough. Sharjah made a bad mistake at the last down the back at Gorn, probably cost him the race. Probably the ground was softer than he'd want as well. The horse to take out of that race, though, quite clearly is the third horse, Dr. Bravo. I'm in love with this horse. I think he could be, this is going to be a brash statement, I think he could be as good as Mighty Potter over fences next year. I think he's a Grade 1 novice chaser next season. He is a mustard horse.
Very excited about him going over fences then next season. 2 bumper horses we do need to mention: Brighter Days Ahead and Ballyburn. One for Gordon Elliott and Jigginstown, and one for Ronnie Bartlett and Willie Mullins. Any of these going to affect the Cheltenham champion bumper?
Well, I said Ballyburn will have a decent chance. Yeah, he comes into the reckoning. He'll be up on, I'd say maybe a Danny Mullins will end up on him or something like that. I thought he was very impressive. Irish Panther brought good form with Fact to File. Didn't seem to have any excuses either. The second horse was a well-regarded point-to-point horse as well, and he pulled and reefed for 1 mile and 7 and still won the race. I think the Gigginstown mare looked good, looked promising. Maybe would go to the mare's bumper at Fairyhouse and maybe onto Punchestown. I doubt she'd go over to Cheltenham. My only worry with her was it was deep ground at Gorn, and that race completely fell apart. The other Gordon Elliott horse, Why Delilah, was pulled up. The Rich Richie Willie Mullins horse was dismounted up the straight. Like the 2 market principals have ran no races, so I'm just not sure about the form of that one. Ballyburn, certainly one to keep on side.
I've come around a bit to Shepherd of Soleil in the bumper.
Yeah, I know you've come round to this. I'm not really sure where you're going with it, but
no. But the fact they're running him as a maiden in the race, and they clearly had a massive reputation before finishing second to Better Days Ahead. I think Paul Townend might ride him, and he could be given a Fernie Hollow treatment. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with the logic. I just feel, given how inexperienced he looked at Fairyhouse, I would have wanted to have seen him win or run first of all and win even a tin pot race. No, I agree. I say will he be chucking him in loads of schooling races?
Yeah, like even a Clonmel bumper or something like that, where he was 1 to 5 and he won doing handstands. You just wanted to have seen him again. Just wonder, he's the type of horse for me that could run a big race in the champion bumper, but maybe not be streetwise enough to win it.
Return of Brandy Love this week. Looking forward to that. I think she's going to run in the Quevega hurdle at Punchestown on Wednesday. What does she need to do to really stamp down her chances of winning the Mares' Hurdle? Do we need to see her as good as she was at the back end of last year?
I think you'd want to, yeah. I think you want to see her obviously put in a safe round. I know she's going right-handed, Cheltenham's left-handed, but you'd want to see her have corrected slightly some of her erratic tendencies and maybe be slightly less keen. Obviously, the Donnellys have, I suspect, paid out pretty decent wage to get their hands on this mare. I think she's a very live chance in the Mares' Hurdle, I must confess. I know I'm slightly reaching on the back of, I suppose, the Love Envoy form line from last year, but I really liked her for the Mares' Novice Hurdle last year. Got my fingers stung on the morning of with a stone bruise. I backed her 25-1. And when you saw what she did against Love Envoy Ferriers, like, I was near on in tears.
Stone bruise that was the burden of our week last year, wasn't it?
Her and Buddy Rich standing in stables beside each other thinking, my oh my, would we have loved that applause of winning.
It was devastating. It was definitely devastating. Now it is time to put up a horse each for the Cheltenham Festival. I'm going to let you take the floor.
Yeah, well, I'm putting up my second one in a handicap. First one in a handicap didn't go well. I still don't think that's dead, actually. I really don't.
Which one's this?
Metamorphosis in the Boodles. Ran a average enough race at Naas, came 5th to 6th. Doesn't look good. That being said, it was a slowly run race. It's a front runner's track and he was held up off the pace. He's been given a mark of 121, I think, in Ireland, which should get him a mark of 126, 127. Should easily get into the Boodles. I think a fast run race will suit. I wouldn't just give up on it. I think he's still 33-1. I wouldn't be maybe charging in and backing him again, but I wouldn't give up on it. But this one comes in the Kim Muir, a handicap chase. Usually better at handicap chases than handicap hurdles. And I just think this horse is progressing at a completely upward trajectory. Went to Sandown last Friday, should I say, for Gavin Cromwell. And it's a horse called Stumptown for the Kim Muir. He's currently 10-1 best price. And I think it's a good price at 10-1, actually. I look at the Kim Muir. It doesn't look to me like a race that has too many horses that you're fearing. Mr. Incredible's currently the market leader. Ran a good race at Warwick, but he's an inconsistent horse. Sometimes down tools completely, and I think he'll be overbet because of the Willie and Patrick element to it. But that being said, when's Willie won a handicap chase at Cheltenham? Doesn't happen. Then you've got Manila Crooner going to be National Hunt Chase bound, and the rest of them, Mr. Coffee could run in this race. Really, you wouldn't be having, deep sweats about Mr. Coffee. Even if he's turning in, going 10 times better than you're still likely to beat him because he'll put his head up in the air. I just think this horse, Joey Dunn, will probably ride him. He usually rides Gavin's horses as an amateur. He's a very competent rider. He's won plenty of bumpers, plenty of point-to-points over here. He's got given a mark of 133 in Ireland, having been reassessed from that Sandown run. He hasn't been reassessed in England, but I would think he'll be in around the 140 mark, which means he won't even be top weight. Joey Dunn will be able to claim a few pounds. He's a good jumper. He stays well. He's improving. And you look at an awful lot of the horses that will run in the Kim Muir, and they're going to be exposed handicappers. This is a horse rightly on the up. And I think 10-1's the price. He could still go off favourite, I suspect.
A compelling case for Stumptown in the Kim Muir. I'm going to put up She Wears It Well at 14-1 for the Mares' Hurdle, and it's an ultra competitive race. They're going to go extremely hard, and I think you need a mare that's going to stay. I think Marie's Rock is classier, but She Wears It Well, what she's done this season, and she had a massive reputation. She obviously had a long layoff through injury. It took her a season to really correct things. She came back this season. She won the Potemps qualifier, beating the Geldings. She then went and beat Queensbrook at Leopardstown over Christmas. I thought that was a very, very good performance. And I just think she's being overlooked. I think she'll like Cheltenham. I think she'll relish a really strong gallop. And with those at the top of the market being Honeysuckle, I think there's question marks there with the trip, possibly. And with her, how good she is compared to how good she was. Epatante, I think you can question mark an end-to-end gallop over 2.5 at Cheltenham. Marie's Rock, could she go to the Stayers Hurdle? I think it's definitely a possibility. Brandy Love, we've not seen her for so long. Love Envoy is obviously very solid. Would she want rattling quick ground that we're likely to get? I'm not sure. So I think She Wears It Well at 14-1. She may run in the Quevega Hurdle. I doubt it if they are going to run Brandy Love, but I think that she might be overlooked, and 14-1 I think is a fair price. And I am going to back her each way at 14s. So She Wears It Well for Willie Mullins, not Gordon Elliott. Are you shocked?
I am very shocked. Are you going to get a nosebleed in a minute or something like that, potentially? So
I would have made it 6 or 5 Gordon Elliott horses. I thought that was slightly excessive, although I think he will have a brilliant festival, fingers crossed. But I did have to get one of Willie's on there, and she went, well, I think 14-1 represents a bit of value. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. It massively helps out the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do get your comments down below. Look forward to reading them.